Hey, what's up, Guardians? TBL here, coming back at you with some Sparrow Racing League gameplay today. That's right, we're hitting the tracks on the Infinite Descent. This is the Venus map. It's considered the more expert of the two maps that we've got. We got one for Mars, one for Venus, and Venus is considered the hard one. Mars is considered the easy one. I just consider them fun. We're going to be tearing that up. But in today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about some information that came out of Bungie yesterday that really kind of made me shake my head a little bit. Alright, now to set this up, for those of you out there who've been playing Destiny over the course of the week, you know that the big weapon balance update went into effect on Tuesday, and it was supposed to change the way a lot of the weapons in the game work. Now, you know, some things went in perfectly fine. Hand cannons have been buffed, they have had their accuracy buffed, and it definitely shows. Hand cannons are pretty good right now. First Curse in particular has gotten quite a few buffs that make it overall a pretty decent weapon nowadays. And then there were other class buffs and nerfs, like pulse rifles were supposed to get about a 9% damage reduction for the low rate of fire pulse rifles, an 8% damage reduction for the medium rate of fires, and about a 2% damage reduction for the highest rate of fire. And for auto rifles, if you guys have been paying attention, and I know you have, they basically haven't been touched at all. The previously reported damage buffs of 3, 7, and 4% for low, medium, and high rate of fire auto rifles respectively basically didn't happen. Almost like Bungie just forgot to throw a switch and include them in the update. Now, what happens after that is even weirder. Of course, players noticed these changes, or rather lack thereof, and, you know, said, "What's the deal, Bungie? What's going on with auto rifles and pulse rifles right now?" And Bungie's response is something that I'm really not too happy with. John Weisnewski, a senior game designer at Bungie and the guy who's generally in charge of the sandbox for Destiny, made a tweet saying this. Basically, Bungie has tested and confirmed that the 2.1.0 auto rifle changes are indeed active in Destiny. We'll talk soon. Which is essentially saying that the changes are in effect and players just aren't noticing them yet. Now, this statement of course turns some heads, since players were doing damage numbers in the Crucible, and the damage that they were getting on auto rifles and pulses definitely didn't match up with the percentage nerfs and buffs that they were said to receive in the weekly update. And again, not just last week's weekly update, we've been getting this information from Bungie since November. And it definitely doesn't line up with the numbers that we're seeing in the game right now for damage values. Now afterwards, this was also posted. FYI, the notes for the 2.1.0 update have been revised with correct damage values for autos and pulse rifles. And this right here, my fellow Guardians, is the big kicker. Bungie went back into the weekly update and revised the numbers, changing the values that they stated weapons are going to be buffed by, or nerfed by rather. For auto rifles, rather than buffing their damage by 3%, 7%, and 4% respectively for the 3 rate of fire tiers, the update has been revised to say that they receive buffs of 0.3%, 0.7%, and 0.04% increases. Those are numbers that are 10 times smaller than what Bungie has been reporting since November. And the same thing applies for pulse rifles. Rather than a 9%, 7%, and 8% damage reduction based upon the pulse rifle tiers, they all received 0.9, 0.7, and 0.8% damage reductions. Again, less than 1%. And again, numbers that are 10 times smaller than what Bungie has been telling us would be coming since November. Now, those are significant differences, especially considering in the auto rifles case, it means they didn't get a buff at all. That's less than 1% of a damage increase, especially for the highest rate of fire archetype, which got a damage buff of 0.04%, which is way less than 1%, meaning you're going to experience 4 extra points of damage like every 10,000 shots. I mean, come on, these values are obviously not correct. And of course, in classic face-saving maneuvers, Bungie has come out to say, oh, no, the values in the update are absolutely correct. We've just been misprinting the values we were going to be buffing and nerfing weapons by since November. In every single update where they talked about the weapons, they've been misprinting the values that they were going to buff and nerf the archetypes by. I'm sorry, but I don't really buy that, and I don't think anyone else does either. It seems to me here Bungie messed up the buffs and nerfs for pulse rifles and auto rifles and is now trying to save face a little bit by revising the weekly update. Which in my opinion is of course unnecessary. I mean, the fan base for Destiny can deal basic math. We can see that these numbers aren't doing what they were supposed to do. And even if we were to go by the revised numbers for pulse rifles, It absolutely does not add up. A 0.9% damage reduction doesn't take a precision shot damage from 38 to 33, which is what pulse rifles in the messenger tier are currently dealing damage-wise. So yeah, these numbers are all out of whack, and I'm not really sure why Bungie isn't just telling us that. I mean, we can do the math, we see the numbers, and it's not what you're reporting right now. In my opinion, this is simply a case of Bungie flubbing the ball at the 2-yard line. And then, rather than admitting that flub, simply trying to save face by revising their old notes. Now, Bungie is going to have another chance to address this. They did say they would be talking about this in today's weekly update. So hopefully we get things cleared up there. I do want to state that the rest of this patch has been fantastic. I mean, Sparrow Racing League is great, and the changes to hand cannons are welcome in my opinion. It's really just this one little issue with the damage values for pulses and auto rifles that needs to be addressed, and hopefully they don't take too long in doing it. Again, it's like Bungie flubbed the ball at the 2-yard line, but the good news is they've got a first down. So they've still got a chance to fix this. They just need to be honest about it. While there definitely is a lot of salt in the community concerning this issue right now, I think the live team has built up more than enough goodwill with all the good stuff they've been bringing to us that if they were to explain themselves and what's going on here, I think everybody would be fine with it. But alright, that is the news concerning auto rifles and weapon balance and my thoughts on it, and I'd love to hear yours. Be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Again, the Bungie weekly update is going live later today, and they have stated that they will be addressing these issues in it. So stay tuned for more information, and if you like what you saw here, do feel free to check out my channel where you can find a ton more Destiny Taken King and Sparrow Racing League videos coming out soon. Anyways, that's it for this one, guys. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.